Hi everyone, today I'm going to share with you my recipe for gluten-free blueberry cheesecake. This is the perfect dessert to make when you want something a little decadent but still light and fresh. It has blueberries baked right into the filling as well as a quick and easy blueberry compote on top. So let's get into it and I'll show you how to make it. We'll start by making the blueberry compote. So in a small saucepan I have some blueberries, sugar, lemon juice, and a little bit of vanilla. And I'll stir this just a little bit and let it come to a slow boil. And I'll stir it frequently, but it doesn't have to be constantly. This whole process takes about 5 to 7 minutes or so. And you want the blueberries to break down until they're nice and liquidy. That's the only way I can describe them, just like this. So now I'm adding in a cornstarch slurry, which is a combination of cornstarch and water, cold water. And we'll bring this back to a boil. You want to boil anything with cornstarch in it for at least 30 seconds to a minute to activate that cornstarch. And it'll get nice and thick. It'll also thicken more once it cools. So now I'm adding in some fresh blueberries, just to have that like contrast of nice and soft blueberries in the blueberry compote, as well as the pop of the fresh blueberries. The fresh blueberries in the hot compote, though, will soften ever so slightly. But this is perfect. We're going to leave this sit, just set it aside to sit to completely cool while we make the cheesecake. This right here is a sheet of my gluten-free graham crackers. So instead of breaking it up into individual little crackers, I decided to just bake it as one whole sheet. And I do this anytime I want to use these things for crumbs. I do it also I've done it for my vanilla wafer recipe and a few other things. I believe I'd have to check on that, but I will leave a link below for the recipe for this. It's super simple. It'll take you less time to make the graham crackers than it will for you to go to the store and try to find gluten-free graham crackers. You can find them in most stores, however, so you are welcome to use it if you'd rather just buy the graham crackers instead of make your own. So I don't need any more of this. I only need 200 grams for this recipe. So I'll put the rest aside for another day, another time, another recipe. And I'll go ahead and use my mini food processor just to grind these up into really fine crumbs. And I'm just going to dump these right into the same bowl that I used for my graham cracker dough. And to that, I'm adding melted butter and just a little bit of granulated sugar. And I'm just going to toss this together until it's like the texture of wet sand. And we're not going to bake this ahead of time, so we're just going to get it into our pan and then chill it until we've got our filling ready. So this is an 8-inch springform pan, and I've got it on a sheet tray, and I'm just going to dump all of this into the bottom of the the bottom of the springform pan, and I'll just move it all around with my spoon. And then I'm going to take a measuring cup, actually one of my little measuring cups, and press it down and to the sides, and that just allows it to get nice and compact in there, and it's perfect for the crust. So if you have any like glass measuring cup, anything with a flat bottom and kind of rounded edges is perfect. So now for the filling, and I do this every single time. I start out with my whisk and realize that it's just not loose enough for the whisk yet. So I switch to my silicone spatula. You can also do this in a stand mixer. I find that it kind of over beats the mixture a little too much, and that could cause cracks, but I do have a method that I use that I'll talk about in a minute for that, preventing the cracks from happening. That is not a water bath. So I'm just folding these two ingredients together until they're nice and creamy and smooth. It will take a few minutes, but like I said, you can do this with the stand mixer or even a handheld mixer. Just go slow. I would do it on low so as to not incorporate too much air into it. Okay, this is where I want it. So I'm going to stop with the spatula and go back to using the whisk. And I'm just going to add in my homemade vanilla. And I'll whisk that in quickly. And then I'm going to add in the eggs one at a time. There are 3 of them. And I'm not incorporating air again, so I'm just whisking them gently. I'm not going to vigorously whisk. And I'm just doing it until I no longer see those streaks of yellow. Okay, this looks great. So now we'll add in cornstarch, and this is just 2 tablespoons. It helps thicken and stabilize the filling and helps also prevent cracks. So we'll just whisk that in until nice and smooth. Perfect. Now we can add in the sour cream as well as the blueberries and lemon zest. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 325 Fahrenheit. And what I like to do instead of using a water bath, I've done this method for years, is I put a shallow pan of hot water in the oven with the cheesecake. I don't put the cheesecake in the shallow pan of water, so it avoids having to mess with the water bath, and it works great. So just mix all of that in. And here's the crust. It's nice and chilled, and we'll pour this filling into the crust, and we're going to bake this at 325 F with the water in the oven, the shallow water pan, for 65 to 70 minutes or until it's just slightly jiggly in the center. Then we're going to leave it in the oven, but turn the oven off, open the door about 6 inches, and let it go for another 2 hours. And at that point, we can add the compote on top. Okay, the cheesecake has baked and it's gone through its slow cooling process, and we've got our cooled down blueberry compote. So we'll marry the two, and then we'll put this whole thing in the fridge for at least 4 hours or overnight. This cheesecake is bursting with blueberries inside and out. It has a nice light texture to it, but it's rich at the same time, if that makes sense. It is divine. My husband has declared it his new favorite cheesecake. Enjoy.